Update. My 35M mother's 58F new fiancé, 24M, wants me to call him Dad. How do I navigate this? Please buckle in because this is all so weird. I'm a 35-year-old man, and for some backstory, my dad died when I was 19, leaving my mom with me and my two siblings. I'm the oldest. It took some time, but eventually my mom started dating again. We don't live together per se, but our houses back onto each other and have a gate, so it's pretty common for her to offer to do my laundry, or me just go over for dinner, or go look after our dog, that kind of stuff. Plus, me and my siblings go over there for dinner every other Friday night or so. A bit after she started, the men she's been dating have been getting younger and younger, and I've never had a problem with them. She's been very open to me and my siblings that she wants to get married again, and we've always been supportive. At least after the initial shocks, LOL. The latest guy is by far the most serious, and they've been dating since around last June. He proposed at the start of autumn, and they want to get married next summer. Again, me and my siblings are fine with this because it's her life and we trust him. He's a nice guy, and they clearly love each other. But anyway, so long and short is, this weekend, her fiancé, let's call him Phil, calls me and asks me if I could come over. I say, yeah, sure, I'll be over after work, and I assumed he just needed help with some DIY stuff they're doing. When I get over there, he calls me Sport and says we need to talk. I should mention this is something he does to me and my little brother, calling us things like kid, sport, scout, little buddy, or my personal favorite, calling us red and blue, seemingly out of nowhere. My brother is 30, by the way. He tried it with my little sister, 28 too, once, and called her princess once, but he stopped when she just stared at him. So thing with Phil is that he reminds me a lot of Charlie Day's character in Horrible Bosses, in that his sole ambition has always been to meet a girl, get married, and have a family. When he told me and my brother this, my brother made some joke about how maybe our mom's going to come short on the last part, and he got very upset, but they made up after. Anyway, so I go round, and I ask if my mom's around, and he says no, it's just him, and that we really need to talk man to man. I say sure, and he starts talking about how he's always wanted to be a father, etc., and raise a son to call his own, and then he drops this bombshell by saying, now I know I can never replace your father, the man who made you, but it would mean the world to me if you could call me Dad. I'll admit it, I sniggered a little. And then I knew he was serious, because he looked like he was about to cry. And he didn't drop it either. I asked if he really meant it, and he got really emotional and started talking about what it means to be a man, and how his purpose is to have and provide for a family, and he wants me and my siblings to be part of that family. Like he reiterated, he'll never replace my father, and this did rub me the wrong way a bit. But he's ready to step up and be my dad and provide for and protect me and my siblings. And I'm just sat there thinking, dude, I'm a decade older than you and live in a separate house. I don't need providing for, and even if I did, I don't think a guy a third of my age who works part-time at the hardware store and is into collecting manga is the man to do it. No offense if you are into that, Lyle, just, I don't know, I was a bit taken aback. I was in shock, so just said okay, and he gets emotional again, but in a happy way, talking about how he wants to go camping or go to a baseball game. I don't even like baseball, LMAO. And how he joined the Lions this year, and how he wants to bring me into it too, as his boy. Which just feels so surreal, even more so as I'm a Shriner. So all this talk of service and charity isn't the brag he thinks it is, because again, I'm 10 years older than this guy. Well, I ended it by just saying, this has gotten a bit too weird, and I was going home. He got very upset, and I left, called my brother, and he agreed, it sounds weird as fuck. Later my mom called me and she wasn't disappointed, but admitted it's made him very upset and depressed. I told her that if he's embarrassed, he doesn't need to be. I get he's excited about the marriage, and we can just laugh this off as a funny story. She then said that wasn't what he was upset about. He, and she too a bit, is upset about the fact he poured his heart out, and I rejected him. She said, yeah, it is a bit kooky, but this is how he proves to himself he's a man. And I guess I was a bit angry and said something like, first off, it's not my job to certify what's between his legs, and second, this doesn't prove he's a man. It just proves he's a nut job. I apologized immediately, but she said she didn't want to hear it and hung up. She called back 10 minutes later, and we apologized, and she begged me to just go along with it until he has some kids to call his own. I won't go too much into the details here, but she sort of let slip they plan to try IVF treatment because she's not ready to give up on being a mom just yet. And while I have my own thoughts about whether or not that's a good idea, I'm not here to litigate on that. We finished up fine, and I reiterated I'd support her, and she agreed that it was definitely a stressful situation for me, but begged me to at least think about it. Which leads me to here. I did think it over, and obviously I'm going to say no. I had a dad and he died. Rest in peace, Dad. And that's the only dad I've ever needed, I've ever wanted, and I'll ever bestow that title on. I'm not asking if someone's unreasonable or what I should do, more so what I should say. This clearly means a lot to him for some reason, and I deeply love my mom, so want to try and minimize the damage, especially as we're still so involved in each other's lives and they live behind me. How can I make it clear to them, as painlessly as possible, that I think this is weird and borderline offensive? I really don't want to rip the Band-Aid off because I fear what it might do to the family. Edit 1. Showed my brother the post and he laughed so hard he started coughing LOL, then said we should call him Dr. Phil and each other Blue and Red, so swap the nicknames he gave us around. Thoughts? Edit 2. As people were asking, he has no access to my mom's money or anything like that. She rents the house and it came pre-furnished and otherwise has no real assets. She doesn't make a lot of money anyway, so there's no pecuniary motive we could think of. Now for the update. Anyway, so I told both my siblings and we agreed we'd collectively put our foot down with Phil at our next family dinner next week, especially after an incident where Phil referred to my brother as sport and asked if he wanted to go see a baseball game with him. Admittedly, I was a bit spurred on by what you all said and got involved, pinging him back with, "Aw, no tickets for me, Daddy." And my brother responded with, "Daddy wants to me all to himself, Hot. And Phil took a few minutes to respond before saying he was shocked, speechless, and disgusted. He then messaged me in private to say he was utterly appalled and that he'd never disrespect his own father the way you boys did. I kind of lost it at this point and said, "Right, that's because you're not my father, Phil. You're a 24-year-old man-child dating my mother. You have no right to my respect, especially not to the respect a father gets." I immediately said sorry, but then blocked his number and left the group chat. Apparently, he sent a similar thing to my brother, who responded with more daddy stuff, and Phil blocked him. Well, that aside, I don't think that family dinner is going ahead. After the original post blew up, it seems someone from his Lions Club found it and reported it to their chair or whatever, and Phil has either been expelled or resigned, or in the process of one of the two. He has removed nearly all mentions of the Lions from his social media, and no longer mentions being a member with his last post on it, being some cryptic goodbye post where he kinda drones on about what it means to be a man in the modern day and the duty of fatherhood bestowed on all men at birth. Really weird shit. My mom called me half in a panic, half in a rage after, about the stuff I'd been telling about him before breaking down and saying we need to meet, which we did and got my brother to go over too. I know he has temporarily moved back in with his parents in the next town over, but from my understanding they still want to go ahead with the wedding. But I think that's more so, because they've already spent money on it. When she said she was determined to have more kids, plural, my brother did step up and asked if she really thought that was a good idea at her age. And I pointed out that assuming she had the baby next year, and she lived to 80, they still wouldn't have finished college. She just stammered on about how people live longer these days, before breaking down crying and admitting she's not ready to give up on mothering due to some deep-seated trauma and fears about the family breaking apart that I won't go into for her sake. When we reassured her that we weren't going anywhere, she calmed down and we had a very good, honest conversation where she's agreed to drop the IVF stuff on the grounds that it'd be too expensive and unlikely to get greenlit. But she's still adamant it's scientifically possible, and she should be allowed to do it from an ethical standpoint because she has to win that argument, and has agreed to look into fostering instead. Me and my brother highly doubt anything will ever come of that, so we're not that worried anymore. The very good news is she's also agreed to look into therapy, psychiatric help to deal with her trauma, and we've helped get her in touch with a nice lady in town to unpack all this in a more healthy way. So at least one person is getting the help they need. I have no idea what's happened with Phil or what's going to happen with him, but I did make it clear to my mom that he is not my dad. He's not even my stepdad. I'm not a kid. And he's never going to be either one outside of legal fuckery. She relented pretty quickly. I think she's finally broken out of her shell at least, and we've agreed that if things go ahead, that's going to be a huge red line, though. I don't know if he'll want to be friends with me after all this LMAO. Anyway, thanks for the help on the original post, y'all. Edit. Bit of an update as I can't respond to everybody, but I think the marriage is off. Phil has gone AWOL again, and has had a huge argument with his family, as they've demanded he call off the wedding and date people his own age. This apparently made him snap. Me and my mom have met his mom and older brother, who said Phil is very insecure around girls his own age, and has never been able to talk them, hence his preference. This very deeply upset my mom, and after some begging from all of us, she has agreed to push the wedding back, though she wants to keep dating him. I have no idea where Phil is, though his brother assumes he's couch surfing with his D&D friends, who have been sending me and my brother some not nice messages because clearly we're just jealous of the MILF hunter. If any of you socially inept fucks are reading this, I don't need to chase middle-aged folk because I can talk to boys my own age like a normal person. Peace. Story 2. Updated. AI. The a-hole for telling my 19F daughter she will have to move out of my house if I get divorced because of her lies after her stepdad saw her naked. Throwaway account due to the situation, but I need to know because I'm getting calls and text from family calling me an asshole for not being on my daughter's side. My husband and I have been married for a little over 5 years now. I will say my daughter 19F, and he has an okay relationship, not exactly father and daughter, but almost advice asked and given relationship basically. I have never picked up on anything weird from my husband towards my daughter, and my daughter has never said or insinuated anything at all as well. On Thursday, me and my husband was watching a movie in the living room. We paused the movie as he got up to use the bathroom. I heard him knocking on the door twice. Literally 3 knocks each time on the door, a couple of seconds apart. It was loud enough for me to hear him knocking from the living room. The next moment, I heard screaming. I rushed to the bathroom and saw my daughter completely naked, covering herself and yelling at my husband, that to get out. I didn't see everything that happened, but what I saw after I heard yelling was my husband literally fell over his own feet and struggling to get the bathroom door closed. I asked my husband what happened, and he said he knocked nobody answered, so he went in, and my daughter was naked in front of the mirror, and he tried to get out. After my daughter calmed down, I asked her side of what happened, and she said she was changing, and all of a sudden, my husband walked into the bathroom. I asked her why she didn't answer him when he knocked. She said he didn't. I told her I heard him knock, so I am sure that he did. She said she didn't hear it because she had her earpods in listening to music. We got the situation sorted, and my husband did apologize to her and explained he thought the bathroom was empty and walked in. She even gave him a hug and apologized for yelling at him. The problem now is my daughter got family members involved, and they are now calling my husband a creep. Got a call from my sister berating me for still having my husband in the house. I asked what she meant, and I came out that my daughter spun a whole other story and left out the fact that she was listening to music with her earpods and is telling everyone that she answered him, and he still walked into the bathroom to look at her. We have cameras in our hallway, and it proves that my husband did knock, as you can see it on the video, but the cameras has no audio. I sat my daughter down and asked her, and she denied saying anything like that, or that she told anyone anything. I got mad and asked, "Then how does you aunt know what happened?" And she went silent. She said she talked to her niece about it, and she must have told her mother. I asked her why did she lie about what happened and made my husband look bad when he did nothing wrong. She again denied lying about anything, and I told her what my sister told me. She just started to cry and say sorry. She was just talking and making up scenarios with her niece. The whole day yesterday I got calls and text from my family members as the story spread. The wrong story is spreading, and my husband is looking like a creep to everyone. I sat my daughter down again and had her read some of the things being said about my husband and told her she has to fix this because her lying is what caused this. She refused, saying she didn't spread this, and she only told her niece and doesn't want to say anything to anyone because they will think bad about her. She said they know my husband, and this will just blow over. Everything did blow up when my husband walked into the living room with his bags packed and said he is going to stay with his parents for a while because he doesn't want to be in this situation anymore where he is made out to be this kind of person. My daughter broke down and apologized repeatedly and said she will fix it by my husband still left. I told her if I get divorced because of her lies, she will be moving out of my house. I told her she better fix what she did and tell everyone what really happened, because I will not be losing a man that loves and actually cares for me like my husband does over lies. She asked me to help her, and I told her no. She isn't a child anymore, and her lies for attention did this. This is on her. I already tried, and I'm now also being accused of taking my husband's side and not providing a safe space for my daughter. I don't know what to do. My husband asked for space, and my daughter is inconsolable at the moment. I am not in the best state myself. Sorry if my post is all over the place. I don't even know if my title is correct on this post. I have reread AMD reread, and it still doesn't make sense to me. Now for the update. Sorry for only updating now, but I'm not in the best of places at the moment, and it has taken me a couple of days to get my thoughts together. I don't know what to do anymore. My husband has asked for a divorce. First, let me answer a couple of questions I saw coming up repeatedly. We have locks on every door in the house. I don't know why my daughter didn't use the lock on the door. The cameras inside the house isn't pointed at any door except for the ones pointed at the front door and back door. The other camera is at the end of the hall, and you can see every door in the hallway from that camera. We have a bathroom in our room, but we can't use it at the moment. The water is completely shut off due to renovation of the bathroom. My husband has asked for a divorce. On Friday, he came back home and asked to talk. During our talk, he showed me his phone, and some of the things my family members were saying about him was just outright horrible. Calling him a pedo. Asking him how many times he has taken a peek before. I don't recognize any of my family anymore. I understand if he actually did something, but he hasn't. And the hatred they are showing over a stupid mistake. Tell me they refuse to listen, or they have hated him from the start and is now using this to try and get rid of him. He said he can't ever come back, and this has now started to affect his work life as well. He was called into HR to explain. Because some of my family members have called his office. Luckily, they haven't done anything and refuse to do anything until a case is brought against him. They know my husband very well, and I think they believe him as well because he is still working. During our talk, he explained that he does love me and still does, and he is happy I stood up for him. But my daughter's actions have caused too many problems, accusations, and made him scared. He explained he sat at the office and at his parents' home every day, just waiting for the police to show up and arrest him. He said her lies broke him and he can't see a way to come back from it. I asked him to reconsider, and that maybe we can go for counseling. But he also refused, saying, everything is too broken to fix. I told him that I will kick out my daughter and told him about everything I did and told my daughter to do, but he said I'm missing the point. His life could have been completely ruined because of a lie. My family will never trust him again and will always harbor hatred or suspicions about him. Especially now that my daughter wants to clear things so long afterwards, they will think we forced her to do it, and that will just make things worse. He said he will always remain the creep in their eyes. I asked him, what if I cut off my family and we moved away, because I was already working on that. I showed him my phone and the message I have sent every single person so far that refused to listen, and that I blocked them. He asked, what about my daughter? I told him again I will be kicking her out, and she will be staying with my parents from now on. He asked, what if we moved away? Will I abandon my daughter then? Because he doesn't want to be near her or be alone with her at all. I didn't know what to say about that. Before I could answer, he said again, it's better for us to get divorced. He said, I will never ask you to abandon your daughter. I will never expect you to do something like that, but I don't want her anywhere near me. If you abandon your daughter, I don't know if I could ever look at you the same afterwards, even if it was for my sake. The only solution here is for us to get divorced. My daughter came running down the hallway into the living room, crying. I think she was listening to our conversation before she could get a word out. My husband jumped up from the couch and put his hands out and asked her not to get near him. He said, before you say anything, I will start to record the conversation now, and took out his phone. I think I saw something break in my daughter's eyes at that moment, at the realization of everything hit her all at once. She asked my husband to forgive her, and she never meant for things to get so out of hand. She was just making up scenarios with her cousin. And her cousin was the one that ran with it. My husband asked her, why didn't she clear it up immediately then? She said she did think it will go this far and thought it will just blow over because everyone knows him. He showed her his phone and asked her to read some of the messages, and my daughter went completely silent. We talked for a boy 4 hours at the end. My husband said he will give us 3 months to move out of the house because it is his house. My daughter can keep the car because it was a gift, and that he will finish paying this year's tuition but will not pay anything going forward. He said he hasn't gotten a lawyer yet, but told me to get one. He will like to do this without lawyer, but if I want to, I can get one. He said he will be fair in theatre divorce and doesn't harbor anything against me, but he can't stay in the relationship. My daughter was just sitting on the floor, looking like a ghost, and I couldn't just say anything, listen to him talk about divorce and what will be split and what not, like it was nothing. He was talking like the last 5 years was nothing, and it was just easy to move on. The best way to describe it was like he was returning something to a store. He left the house, and I just sat on the couch. I don't know if I was crying, talking, or what. I can't remember much as everything was muffled around me until my daughter started to full-on crying, saying, "Sorry, sorry, sorry," over and over again, laying on the floor. I don't know how long I sat on the couch, but when I got up, I saw my husband's car still in the driveway. I looked out of the window, and I could see him full-on crying in the car. Seeing that completely broke me. My daughter and I haven't talked since my husband was here Friday, not a word to each other. My family members have showed up to the house to apologize, because apparently my daughter has all of a sudden now cleared everything up, and she herself shared the video from the Camara with the family members. Every time they show up, I just close the door in their faces. I have gotten Facebook, Instagram, calls, and text from them, and when I block them, they keep making new account of use different numbers. I don't want to lose my husband, I really don't. This is the first man I have ever met that has actually treated me with kindness, respect, and love. And now it's all over. I have tried to talk to him and tried to convince him to go to counseling with me. But every time I have tried, he sends back, I can't. I can't take the risk. I have tried to meet him in person, but he just says, it won't be a good idea. I have gone over to his parents' house, but they refused to let me see him. I have gone to his work to talk to him, but I was told he was sent home by his boss. I truly don't know how to fix this. Having my daughter move out now won't work because I need to be out of the house as well. I don't want anything from my husband. I just want him. I haven't talked to a lawyer yet, but I don't think I can keep the house. He owned it before we moved into the house. I really want to fix this. I still want to kick my daughter out of the house, but will he still give me a chance to fix it, even after what my husband said about me abandoning my daughter and not seeing me the same afterwards? I don't know anyone. Am I really going to lose a wonderful man? Edit. I forgot how Reddit fixates on one thing. The comment about the house I made. I have not intentions of trying to take his house or anything like that. It's not my house. I had questions in my previous post about the house, and I think I just answered it. I'm not going to try and take his house. He owns it and has owned it before we got together. I have no right to the house and will not try to take the house. I hope this clears it up. Thank you for watching.